English 111. Miss Brewer here for your weekly video. Just logging into Moodle and pulling up next week. So if you want to pause me and join me in doing so, that'll help you to better understand what I am talking about this week. So you guys have kind of a busy week this week. You are going to do some practicing for your run-on sentences. So continue practicing those. You will be taking a grammar test in 2 weeks on run-on sentences and fragments, so make sure you're getting practice in. This week we are working on creating our outlines. So you wrote a thesis statement last week for your paper, and I'll give you guys some feedback on that this week. And you are now going to outline how you're going to prove that thesis statement, and the outline needs to be done in MLA format. So there's a thesis and outline lesson continue button for you to click in Moodle. This is just links. Excuse me. This is just links that you can look at that will help you for developing your thesis and developing your outline. Remember that a thesis is the backbone to your paper. So that is the whole point of your paper. It's what you're going to prove. It's everything you're trying to do in your paper in like 1 to 2 sentences. The outline is how you are going to do that. Okay, so what are the main ideas you're going to talk about? And then what details and evidence do you have to prove those main ideas? So it's a blueprint or a sketch of your paper, and it's the order in which you'll write about your different topics. So there's a video for you to watch this week on writing an MLA, or writing a thesis and writing an outline and the connection between the two. And then there's also an outline example, okay? So the way that you set your outline up, it needs to be in MLA format. That means you need to have a header, you need to have a heading, you need to have a title. The title should not be thesis and outline. It should be a title for the content of your paper. So if I'm writing about the same thing I talked about last week, which was comparing how Hansberry uses Langston Hughes' poem, Harlem, to symbolize what happens when her characters aren't able to reach their dreams, right? Then my title might be something like Dreams Deferred and a Raisin in the Sun, right? Easy enough, okay? That's the content. And then the thesis is the first thing that I write on that paper. So it goes, your paper is in Times New Roman font, 12 point. It is double spaced. Make sure you check your after so that there's not a whole bunch of extra space when you hit enter, because you're gonna hit enter a lot on your outline. All right, and then my thesis, after I type my title centered in the page, I hit enter. My thesis begins flush left on the paper. I actually write the word thesis with a colon, and then I write my thesis statement out, okay? And then after I do that, I hit enter, and I tab in, and I do a Roman numeral 1, okay? And that Roman numeral 1 is my first main idea, okay? So for my idea of comparing Harlem to the characters of A Raisin in the Sun, perhaps I would start out first with Walter Lee's dreams and how they are deferred. So my first main topic, my first Roman numeral 1, is going to be Walter Lee's dreams. Underneath that, I would have a capital A. That capital A is a main idea about Walter Lee's dream. So I might talk about what is symbolic of his dream, the liquor store. I might talk about, for a B, right? So another main idea under his dream. I might talk about which line of the poem he matches, okay? And then for a C, I might talk about how it's deferred, okay? Or I might flip those around. A, what is the dream? B, how is it deferred? C, which line of the poem does he match? And then underneath those capital letters, I have evidence from the text to back things up. So for A, if my main topic is Walter Lee's dream is symbolized through the liquor store, then I might have a number 1 where I have a quote from A Raisin in the Sun where he talks about his dream of being a business owner, being free from, chauffeuring for the white man, or, having financial independence or something like that, some quote from the play. And then I would have a number 2, which would offer some analysis, maybe from one of my scholarly articles, another quote from my scholarly article that offers analysis on that thing. Okay, and then I come back out to B, and my next topic is, how is his dream deferred, right? And then A, I offer information about his friend running off with the money, right? And that happening, and a quote from the play. And then number 2, I would talk about analysis of that, okay? So that's my textual evidence, all right? So you have this kind of like in and then out outline format. And you have a template. Your MLA outline example is a Microsoft Word template to create your outline. So when you open that up, it explains what everything is. In the header, you would take out the words Microsoft template and just put your last name. Your page number is already in there. You would have replace everything with the information that you need to replace it. This is formatted properly. So you have a template to do your outline. There's no reason for it not to be formatted properly. Okay? I hope that makes sense for what I'm saying. And it gives you some information about what you should do for each section. So do that. Make sure you're in MLA format. Make sure you have the proper font, the proper spacing. Make sure that your outline goes in and then out, meaning everything's lined up. All of your Roman numerals, 1, 2, 3, are lined up. All of your A's and B's are lined up. Capital A, B are lined up. All of your 1s and 2s underneath that are lined up, okay? You can see what it looks like if you open up the template in Moodle. Another rule to remember is with your outline, if you have a 1, you have to have a 2. So you can't just have one piece of detail or evidence for a main idea. You have to have at least 2. If you have an A, you have to have a B, okay? So you have to have at least 2 main ideas, or excuse me, main ideas under a Roman numeral, okay? Now you can have a C without a D, so you can have 3 things, but you can't have just 1, okay? If you have an A, you have to have a B. If you have a 1, you have to have a 2. Remember that. This is just a blueprint, so you don't have to write paragraphs here. You're just writing statements and then maybe quotes or details, okay? But the more time that you spend putting this together and having it really make sense, the easier it's going to be to write your paper. So spend time on this. Remember that you are using the play itself. You are using 2 scholarly articles to gather all of your information together, and all of those things should be inside of your outline. All right, all the research should be done this week, and then you have an outline and a sketch of how you're going to write your paper by the end of the week, okay? The thesis is what's driving your paper, so all of your Roman numerals have to relate right back to that thesis statement. So if my thesis statement is that the comparison between Harlem, the poem Harlem, and the characters in A Raisin in the Sun symbolize what happens to dreams deferred, then all of my Roman numerals have to do with those 3 things. Dreams deferred, their dream, the poem, all of that stuff. It all has to relate back, okay? So remember that. That's super important. All right, so that's kind of the basic overview of how to do an outline. And again, I'm going to try to get your thesis feedback back to you by Tuesday at the latest, and that will be just in the comments in your journal entries, okay? So I'll make comments and I'll just make, some suggestions there. And then you also have a journal due at the end of the week. So the sooner that hopefully your research is done, hopefully you've got your articles and you've read them and you've highlighted and annotated and you kind of have an idea of what you're going to write because you've written a thesis statement. So the sooner you get your outline together, the sooner you can go ahead and start on your paper. And your paper rough draft will be due not this week, but next week, okay? So on the 3rd of March, okay? So you have your paper assignment specifics. I posted those last week, so you know what you're writing your paper on. I'm gonna post a introductory paragraph graphic organizer, body paragraph graphic organizers for you guys to utilize as you write your papers. So that'll be in next week's stuff. So just keep your eye open for that. And I'll probably go ahead and open up next week after I give you feedback on your theses. So after you get your thesis statement feedback, you may need to make corrections. Be sure you look at that information before you turn in your thesis and outline, because you may need to make corrections to that thesis statement, okay? It's super important. And that's it, okay? So we're working on our outlines and our thesis statements and turning those in at the end of the week. If you guys have any questions, please shoot me an email or give me a call, and I'll be happy to help you as I can. When you do email me, you do have to email me with specific questions. You can't just say, I don't understand. You know, I'm spending time doing these videos to explain, and it's in writing there, and so I don't understand does not help. You need to be specific about what you're not understanding or what you need help with so that I can address the issue. All right, and have a great week. I will touch in again next week.